Hello, everyone. So we are here in another webinar from GDPR Register. So in order to celebrate GDPR's 7th birthday, we are talking about the gaps between legal and product teams and how to overcome it. So welcome everyone, and you can drop us into the comments as well where you are tuning in from. It must be morning, lunchtime, even evening time. So all of you are welcome. So today we have two very knowledgeable, experienced, and one of my dear ex colleagues as well. Welcome, Ankita Dabu from both Product Council and previously a legal counsel in Verif. And she has over 6 years of legal experience supporting global companies. Welcome, Ankita.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very
Mhm,
happy to be here.
mhm. And also we have Munna, who is a staff product manager in Twilio, has over 12 years of experience in product and such global companies as Microsoft, Eric, PwC, and Deloitte. So welcome, Munna, as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Mhm. So I've had the pleasure of working together with them in Verif. So I know for a fact that they are both business oriented, have a very strong approach on finding solutions and not blockers. So I think discussion will be very fruitful and maybe will also provide new insight and knowledge from their experience as well. So today we will talk about product and legal and how to overcome the gaps. And in the end, we also have a Q&A session for 10 minutes. And we will also wrap it up 5 minutes before the closing time. So I already see that Lauren is tuning in from South Africa. Hi, Lauren. Nice to see that you tuned in as well. So let's kick it off then. Munna, what's the most common misconception product people have about their respective legal and privacy teams? Let's start with breaking some myths.
Yeah, I think I can speak from my experience. Like, again, product being a very wide terminology, product managers behave quite differently. As I was saying, that different product managers might have experience with working with different legal partners, right? But overall, I think a good point of start is looking at legal or legal partners or the legal clarification process as a checkpoint, or rather something to just get a tick mark out of. In some cases, I think product managers also tend to think of it as a blocker, as in like, I want to build this amazing product. This might be not something that has been done before, and a lot of the things are not clear. So maybe I cannot go to my legal partner and explain to them what it generally is, and then they say no, and then we have to start from scratch. So there's this tendency of kind of looking at it as a blocker, just a checkpoint, so as to speak, somebody to get a permission from or get a right, like a tick mark from before you can actually even ship it. And I think there are a lot of reasons why this might happen, but there's this one bias that is kind of like, because I think we don't understand our legal partners as well as we would like to, and we also feel they don't do it. So there is this kind of a conception that exists.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ankita, what do you think privacy councils often underestimate while working together with product teams? What's the most common myth in your field?
Well, I think I can speak from the commercial and product experience that I have had. I think number of iterations that a product team takes um, is something that uh, when we start with it, we are not completely aware of it. We work on, we being legal, we work on like very good timelines and all of that, but not every time the timelines are going to work. So just understanding how to be flexible yet trying to be, you know, not messy. Like the
Mhm.
flexibility should be there, but the messiness should be out. That is what I have been learning over the past few years when I've been working with sales or with product, either of these teams. So I think the number of iterations that happen when the product is in making is not something that we know completely, and that is I won't say it's a myth for us, it's something that is unexplored to us. And when we start working with the product team more collaboratively, you kind of start enjoying the entire process of how it goes on between, okay, we can do this, we can't do this, how do we go through the entire waters, and how the final product comes out. It's really enjoyable. So yeah, it's not a myth, but it's something untreated waters, I would say, for legal.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. And there is a lot of unknown and unexpected in the course of your work as well, and how to handle that entirely is actually is accepting the fact that not everything is under your control either. So it's go with the flow and just be agile and flexible and communicate
Absolutely.
with your partners. So yeah, but as Munna previously mentioned, there may be some councils who tend to say no, and that is a blocker. So, what do you think usually causes that kind of friction between legal and product?
What I have learned is the way you communicate as a lawyer with a non-lawyering team is so different, and it needs to be polished over years. It's not going to be a legalese that you throw at the other person and the other person just accepts it. Maybe as a lawyer, I have understood how to talk to my product managers or my salespeople better now, because we are not exactly saying no ever. To be honest, all the teams that I have worked with in the past, the legal never tries to say no. It's just that the way it is being communicated, that matters a lot. You say that maybe we can't do this, but if you give a but and give a solution, it's always a better collaboration with the product or any other team that legal is working with. So it's not a no until you, like, unless you are just giving a proposition later, like maybe not this, but maybe this, can we do something like this, or maybe can we change the comps like this. As soon as you start thinking more from the product, and I'm not saying that you stop thinking as a lawyer, you just start understanding their perspective as well, and only then are we product councils or we are commercial councils. Otherwise I'm just going to be a lawyer, right? But there's a reason I'm not I'm my title is not a lawyer, it's a product counsel. I have to understand the product as well. So as soon as you start thinking about other perspectives as well, and yes, the product person also has to be understanding enough to know what am I talking about, to have some kind of understanding of why are we doing a particular iteration from the legal end, why is legal marking a product or saying that this is going to be a high risk contract, why is it, why are we saying that. And as soon as we know the why, we can find a solution towards how. That's how my approach has been for the past years of my work. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you, Ankita. Munna, what about you? How often have you seen that legal counsels or product counsels are coming to you with their ideas how to release something for the product, how to update something, how to launch something? Is it rather rare or rather becoming a practice of its own?
I think for successful, like in all the cases where I've had success launching, let's say net new products, where the onus is most in terms of kind of getting through to legal and kind of getting their opinion and making sure that everything is as it should be. So in those cases, I've found that the earlier we start those conversations, like starting conversations at the problem discovery stage. Now, as a product manager, we are expected to kind of be the communicators with, say, our design teams, our engineering teams, our support team. A lot of the times, like product managers can actually leave out legal at that stage when you are actually doing the product, like the problem discovery, as in like what exact customer problem are you solving, and going towards a solution. Because at that stage, you are not locked in on a single solution, as Ankita mentioned, right? Having this conversation, and of course, I don't expect my legal partner to kind of come up with the solution, but if I can bring some of the, let's say, the more fluid ideas that you have at the beginning with them, run it off, it already kind of helps us move to the right direction. And I feel that start, and a regular, then a regular catch up as and when the other teams also come on board, right? From a product manager's point of view, you have the problem identification, you have a kind of like a customer problem fit, solution, design, etc. So at each stage, if you can just get a little bit of, let's say, hey, are we on the right track? Is there something something that looks extremely odd? Are there any considerations that we need to make here? And at that point, it's also like we are involving our legal partners, and there's an onus on them to also kind of proactively, let's say, tell us if they can foresee anything going wrong with all the information. Of course, I don't ever expect our legal partners to know exactly what's in the solution, but as Ankita mentioned, it's about communication, right? I also have to make sure that I'm speaking a language where they understand. I have to, as a product manager, I have to have the understanding of what are the probable gray areas. And of course, when it comes to data usage, GDPR, and especially in my area of fraud prevention, even though you are trying to prevent bad actors, there's a lot of gray areas where you are kind of delving. So I think those, each milestone, each place where the solution can actually change, the product can be shaped. If you have those communication regularly, it helps a lot, because by the time you have started working on the product, as in the actual dev work starts, I feel it's a bit too late, because then any changes will have to lead to rework, and we don't really want that.
Mhm. Absolutely. Ankita, have you ever experienced such a situation where legal was pulled in too late? How did you tackle that situation?
I think all of us have faced that situation when sadly legal is pulled in a bit too late, right? But again, from a product legal or from a commercial standpoint, we always have to keep this in mind that we have to keep the ship sailing but safely. So it is always better to remember that one purpose for why are we here, one, and then two, how can we still make it happen. Of course, if there is a big risk, if there's something that is going to break off the entire, like hell is going to get loose, then yes, sadly it has to be a blocker for that time. We have to find other solutions because we did not talk earlier. But most of the times we still highlight the risks, we still talk talk about whether we can take those risks or not, and then we go ahead with making a decision of whether it's a blocker or not. We can still go ahead with something, with a last minute tweak or something like that. But honestly, I know that the myth is that we have been the blockers, but most of the times it is not like the last minute. It's you still have like 3 or 4 days, a week before you come to know, oh okay, there's something like this happening as well, and you can still save the day. So yeah, it's actually very enjoyable to see how the ship sails through, always, like always. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think it's also understanding the ways of working. So if you are here to help the company succeed and grow and provide value to your customers, it's also thinking out how do we work together as a team as well. And the whole company is the team. It's not that legal does its own thing and product does its own thing, but it's also about talking what went well and how can we improve the next time when we're going to do this project together, so their expectations are aligned as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah. But Munna, you also mentioned different steps in the discovery, and also understanding the regulatory requirements as well. Have you ever experienced something that really hurt the product experience as well regarding the compliance requirements? Is it either a legal disclaimer somewhere, a tick boxes somewhere that truly hurt the customer onboarding, for example, as well?
I think there has been situations where, let's say, the custom, like from a end user, end customer point of view, there are certain things that could have helped them. For example, using data to optimize their, let's say, their experience on a platform, right? If it's for customers who have disabilities and all, there are caveats which allows data usage and whatnot. But overall, let's say as a product manager, if I'm trying to optimize a user's experience on my platform, it might end in a commercial transaction, right? And that is not really something, let's say, from a data use point of view, that is again a murky area where you have to understand the nuances, what data, how specific you are with the data usage and what you are doing. But at the end of the day, if I could optimize this for a customer, they might end up buying what they want to buy and buy it faster. I understand that that might also lead to open a lot of doors that we don't want to go in. But on a high level, this is something that a lot of product managers think. Uh, is this going to be the only way to kind of do things? I don't agree. I feel like in some cases restrictions are good, and I'll tell you why. In my opinion, if the only thing coming between me as a product manager and my product and solving a customer need is uh, some kind of let's say data protection or some kind of a legal precedent that stops me from providing that service, if I have a legal partner who is diligent and who is innovative enough to help me solve that, that gives me a like kind of an edge, and that also helps me cater to my customer better. So I feel there are two sides of looking at it. Being somebody who works in the field of fraud prevention, I have a lot more advantage in data usage, as you would know better in terms of purpose and whatnot. So I have not really had that issue. There are certain like data retention, let's say logic that stops us from retaining data for certain geographies. I think Texas, Illinois comes to my mind first, and that having that data might have helped us in the future to prevent some kind of fraud or not, etc. I think initially when I did not understand those restrictions and what are the scenarios where I can and cannot use that, at least from my, and I'm accepting it publicly, but I might have designed or built, we might have as a group might have built the solution incorrectly. But again, my legal partners back in Verif, they made us aware that there are reasons where you can store the data, you cannot store the data, and then kind of again evolution and customer problems being solved. So I think there are issues, but you can solve around them if you kind of look hard enough and if it's the right cause, so as to speak.
Yeah, and I truly believe that it's understanding the why behind, why do we do it? Why do we need this data? Why do we do it exactly like this? Helps for legal people to understand like what's the purpose, why are we doing it? It puts into a context and how helps to find creative ways how to comply. So it's finding the balance between requirements and seamless interaction for the end user as well. So Ankita, what is the magic formula for this balancing act of legal requirements and product wishes? Is there something that you can also recommend, a good practice, something to keep in mind? That not everything can be written into the product, but how to be creative in the legal field, in the terms and conditions. And
I think learn or understand your product is the first step for a lawyer, and it takes time. It's not like you will be able to, you will read through 10 Confluence pages and you're done. It's not like that. You really need to understand what your product is, how does it work, who works behind what, and also like once you start working with so many teams, you kind of start having kind of respect for all of those teams, because at one point in time you're just a user, but when you start looking at the backstage, you kind of come to know who are the puppet handlers kind of, and then you understand, oh my god, there's a big workforce working for this work engine that I was just using till now. So I think understanding your product is the key to giving innovative solutions, because once you understand the product, you of course are having a good understanding of your legal knowledge, and then when you combine those two, you can have better conversations with your product managers, and give better solutions or innovative ideas, or just don't uh, don't shy away from speaking those ideas, because it is only in those one-on-ones, in those chats, in those catch-ups, when you actually understand, okay, I was actually thinking it this way, but maybe we can do it in some other particular way. And when you speak this out loud, that's exactly when what I said earlier, like the iterations that are going to happen in the product, they happen in your brain actually. And that's a great way to have those better solutions being delivered from the legal end. That's what
Mhm.
I feel. And I'm completely on board with Munna. Like communication is key. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, but there is also a lot of like routines that the product and legal teams have. Can you share any of them? Is it like participating in product meetings, product planning meetings? Is it like monthly brainstormings, also to carve out new features, for example? Can you share perhaps? Mona
Uh,
first.
who goes first? I'm sorry.
Uh, Ankita, you can go. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can go.
Thank you. Uh, I think um, I think the planning meetings that happen on all the levels, like when I was working as a commercial counsel as well as a product counsel, they are really important. They not only tell you what is being planned, they also you kind of also understand what needs to be prioritized. How much work would a particular deal or a feature need from your end. Accordingly you start communicating with your product manager early on, or accordingly you start communicating with your account manager early on, and that sets you for success, I think. So the first answer that Mona gave, don't don't use us as checkpoints. Exactly, yes. Use us as your collaborators, and as soon as you do that, the last minute no's will no longer be no's, because we would be saving a lot of time, not just helping you deliver on the product, but also safely. Like safely is important. We don't want to release a product and then roll it back in, that we could not do it. That is not how the ship sails, right? So we would help you deliver the product more safely if we are involved in those planning sessions. And thankfully in all of the companies I have worked with, there are good planning sessions that happen. It is just on an individual, how do you take those planning sessions. I know that there are a few planning sessions where everybody is just listening, but then you have to be a bit proactive as well. You have to go through those RFCs, you have to go through understanding, okay, if there is this particular deal or this particular product that I'm thinking about, what exactly am I going to have to do. And this particular thing would only come to you when you know your product well. No, again, knowing the product. So I know I'm repeating, but knowing the product is really necessary.
Absolutely. Muna, do you have anything to add to
Yeah,
what
sure.
Ankita said?
I think having worked at like a startup, scale up, and like more established companies, I feel a lot of these processes and rituals are based on at what stage of maturity the organization is. And we, as product managers and legal counsels, we have to kind of actually adapt to it. One thing I do agree a lot when what Ankita said was about knowing the priorities, getting involved in planning, right? So in my understanding, a legal partner is someone closer to home than, let's say, a wider planning session. So you would have generally somebody who is more closely associated with your product within a group of products, say. So as as you are starting to kind of like draft your roadmap, and it's not already, let's say, it's not decided or anything. As you draft your roadmap, you have a mental model of what are your next, let's say, 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and the time frame can actually depend based on the maturity of your org and what is your planning cycle. As you draft those things, you should have already some kind of a PRD or a customer value brief that you want to kind of share with your legal partners, with a kind of like a tentative stack rank of, okay, these are the things that we want to achieve in the next X amount of time. Could you please have a look at that? I feel like having that level of kind of openness with your legal partners help you a lot, because it is already getting them to read your documents and getting them to understand your thought processes and exactly the customer problems. And I feel a lot of the times what has happened with me is that within that sharing, a lot of questions come back which actually impact the whole product brief that we give to our teams. So it kind of shapes the product also. It's not just like, oh, this is what we want to build, this is the problem we want to solve, and this is what we are thinking, and that comes in, that starts, and that will change my roadmap. 6 months, X months roadmap, I can understand some of these might not be achievable in 3 months. If I want to overhaul everything, all our legal precedents in 3 months, it might not be possible, right? I think we have to extend the same leeway to our legal teams as we do it with our engineering teams, because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to add something to that. And in that case, if a legal team says that 3 months is too short of a time for us to explore a solution, we have to rejig our roadmap. I think that's the most important part. Regular touch points. In some organizations, I had more ad hoc, like catch-ups. In some orgs, I had a monthly or bi-weekly sync. Some legal counsels want more technical input. Some want more, let's say, more business-oriented or rather a customer use case-based conversation. So I think it is also kind of a bit more agile, so as to speak. You have to meet the person that you are working with and decide with them.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of like verbal communication that goes between the two teams, but there's also non-verbal communication, and that comes when things need to be designed. So Ankita, how involved have you been in design reviews? How things look like? So maybe you can share your experience.
I think my conversations have also been verbal when in design teams, but I think again when we look at designs, I would be very concise here, but we just want to ensure that we are showing exactly what we are going to deliver and nothing more or nothing less. And in a legal review of the product, if we are able to capture that essence exactly, then I think it does not take the design team to, of course there are a lot of to and fro, or I'm sorry, back and forths between the design and other teams as well. But in as soon as you have defined what you're wanting to see on screen from a legal standpoint only, I cannot say from other teams perspective, but from a legal standpoint, what I want to see and highlight what I would not like to see, that helps set your course when you start talking the non-verbal communication with the design team. um, and yeah, I think I have been following that for quite some time now.
Absolutely, and I remember also discussions about how big the print should be, what color, what shade the print should be. It's like it goes into really into detail, but details matter. So
Yes.
that's also a very important aspect to know about the legal nitty-gritty things. So Munna, what about your experience when you have been in these design meetings as well, and legal says something that maybe we can change this detail or this detail? How do you solve these discussions, and is it like instant yes, or you also want to talk things through as well?
I think in my experience, the reason, to understand the reason behind why legal is saying something, that is the first thing. why does a legal professional need to kind of evaluate and give feedback on a design component? Just to understand. And in my experience, it has been one of the two reasons. One is accessibility. The second is just in terms of, let's say, legal requirement in particular geography or by particular uh, government body, let's say, kind of like a government body. So in both the cases, it's actually trying to make out the first case, if there is a precedent in terms of accessibility that we can achieve by doing a change, I feel that is taking our product in the exactly the direction we want to be. We want to make a product that is accessible to all individuals. In that sense, legal is doing somewhat my job and helping me actually make the product better. There is no reason for us not to kind of accept. The only thing can be, at what stage do we have to adhere to that? Because as you know, product goes through the pilot, beta, and then general release, whatnot. And different stages might have different resources with us. So we might not have the resource to make the change right now. So then it comes to understanding, okay, I am releasing this product as, for example, an MVP. Can I keep this like this for now? Or does it have to be right now? And legal might come back to me and say that, okay, as long as your user segment is this, and you are making them aware that these are the upgrades that are coming in the future, this might be okay. So the first point is done. The second part is the legal requirements, right? When you have to kind of, like, as you mentioned, the size of the font, because a lot of the UX changes comes from the basic need for giving the end user right information regarding what they are doing, or the legal impact, or kind of like a generic awareness of the customers. So in that case, we have had to go back and forth in, like, can we do this instead of doing an in-app? Can we send out an email informing all our customers that this has changed? Do we need to, is there a way we give this message only once instead of doing it every time the user logs in? So a lot of this, because at the end of the day, you are trying to maximize the user experience, but you also have to adhere to certain norms, right? So whenever we can do this, this becomes a conversation. And the same again goes back, when do we have to do it? Is it when the beta, when we have released a, let's say, software as a beta, like if it's a B2B or B2C directly, is it a beta product, or is it like a general release product that everybody can use? So a lot of these conversations, so in my experience, things get solved, but it's not a single thing, yes or no. It's more follow-up questions and then identifying what we need to do now, next, later.
Absolutely, and I truly vote for what Ankita said. Understand who you are designing the service, what is the product meant to do. And I think in the world of constant connectivity, we also have to think about the more vulnerable groups in the society, elderly people, what you said, like accessibility, and also children. So designing products and services for children is also something that is it comes with a grain of salt. Like, how do you actually communicate so children understand? Like, and also different, like, privacy documentation. Also, like, how do you verbalize what the service does? And I think this is also quite a tricky field, because there are some guidelines about designing services for children, like Children's Code from the UK as well. But I think this is like totally outside of the box thinking. Like, and you can find really good examples from the wild world, but also not so good examples when children have been written in legal jargon that even I don't understand exactly what this is doing. So I think this is also the understanding point, that why, how, whom are we doing this to? But as we are, we have 10 more minutes until our questions and answers round. I would also like to talk about what tools do you use to collaborate? Because there is also a lot of documentation, meetings, what do you use? How to manage all this information, Ankita?
I think, yeah, I think we have been using Confluence for knowledge base, for creating knowledge base on different topics. Um, and also like smaller, like, so not everybody is going to go and see all of the Confluence pages on the legal risks that we have created, or not everybody is wanting to go and or needing to go and do that. But still, in order to ensure that everybody understands what are we working for, it is necessary that we also create like smaller briefs that we do have, around what the topic is concerned around, what a particular Google Doc or Confluence page is concerned around, what is going to, what is it going to speak about, and why does it, or who does it concern. And as soon as you have like some kind of attention capture of that person, then you get into the legalese. But at the same time, again, never make a Confluence page which has only legalese. Nobody likes that. So ensure that when you are trying to put a knowledge base for non-legal or teams other than legal, basically try and make it as non-legal as possible. Try and tell your concerns or your risks in a way which will really help them learn what they read, not just because they had to go through a training session and then they just went through it, or they had to read the entire page and then they just went through it. They really should be able to take something out of it, and they would be able to do that only when a lawyer is able to tell it their concerns in a better language, in a very easy language. As lawyers, we get used to reading very legalese languages, and then we think that, yeah, this is very easy, but it's not. And so it's always important to understand what perspective is going to read your document, and then create the document. It is easier, better that way. Also, we use Slack for ensuring that we tell that there is a document that has been made for your knowledge enhancement, and please take some time to go and read that. And I think that has helped us a lot, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Munna, how do you document everything that's happening?
I think uh, Confluence pages are, of course, and it depends on company to company. I would say like different companies have different processes, and I've had the experience of working with companies that are more Confluence favorable, and there are companies that maybe favor a Google Doc over a Confluence. But at the end of the day, it is the same. Like you have to have this one place to kind of document your thought process, your reason for driving your kind of like uh, your motives, and as well as the outcome you are hoping for, right? So you document it either in Confluence, either in Google Docs, whatnot. And then in one of my organizations, we use the Jira tickets to kind of do one and all, where you'll create a Jira request at the onset, and a lot of the communications happen with that. Most of our outcomes are tracked there, or any feedback that we receive from our legal partners, as well as our engineering partners, having that one-on-one conversation also happened on Jira as well as on Slack. In some cases, like in my current org, we have a custom platform where you can create a policy evaluation, like privacy and GDPR evaluation request for assessment, where there's a list of questions that are generally asked to evaluate different kind of privacy or data related risks, and you have to answer them, and uh, your legal partners would then come back, ask you follow-up questions, and you have those conversations. You can have like over Slack or there. I think at the end of the day, I also agree with Ankita. The whole point is to kind of like document things, make it concise and to the point, get it, uh, get the ideas across, and then have the conversations, maybe sometimes online, offline, and then document everything.
I,
Yeah,
I, I
it's
would like
like
to add one thing. I'm sorry, Krita, I'm cutting you in, but I think all the tools are very good, but you need to have one tool in your head communication. Use that through all of those tools. You're just trying to communicate better, if, be it Confluence, Google Docs, Jira, Slack, Google Meets, what else, Microsoft Team Meets, all of those, they are meant for you to communicate. So you have to tackle that art of communication before, while you are, traversing through this space of tools which help you communicate. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The one thought I had in my head is explain it like you're explaining it to your grandma, basically. Simple words, simple context, short sentences. So, yeah, and as we live in a constant like change, products are changing, but also regulations are changing and new ones are added. How do you tackle that everything from the product and service wide is aligned with these new regulations? Like, for example, as you mentioned, accessibility standards, AI Act. So when something new pops up, what do you do in your company? Like, where does the ball start rolling? Ankita, please.
It's a very good question, and I think we have, or what I have understood in this entire during my entire time, is that when you're going through new regulations, and making a kind of roadmap, or summaries of what you have understood out of it, how do you need to go about it at your workplace. um, don't create a legal memo. Create something which will be actionable, which the product manager or anybody else who would be your collaborator in that particular action point, they should understand what is their action point, what is exactly demanded out of them, and why is it being asked. So instead of writing like, yeah, clause 1 of this regulation states this, so then this entity needs to do this, nobody is going to read. Like, after you start writing clause 1 of this regulation, the other people would sleep. So ensure that it is concise, to the point, and tells the person, okay, this regulation requires me to do this, and for me to do this, you have to do this. And as soon as you give an action point, then you start working on it, rather than the other person, I think, giving it 2 or 3 hours to read the entire memo that you have forwarded. So it's better that you have actionable points rather than drafting memos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Munna, do you have anything to add? Do you expect legal and compliance people to bring this information to you? Because I remember you also initiated some discussions, but I read there is something going. Like, what's the action plan for this?
Yeah. On general, I would expect my legal partners to be the ones kind of driving this conversation, because for me to be aware of, let's say, the nuances of new changes is, I think, not very possible. As much as I would like to read up, understand, there are things that might not make sense to me. So in general, it's my legal partners, my counsels, who would kind of prompt me to kind of think about it. If, as Ankita mentioned, if it can be an outcome based, like, or kind of like a prompt for action, that's the best. Then we can actually think about, okay, what is the action, what is driving it, and what is the latest we have to do. That's always, because every PM is managing a backlog, and that backlog will, any new item has to be prioritized accordingly. So that's the fact. In my past experiences, there has been certain things where, and that's maybe working with a startup scale up model, right, where things are being built on a daily, and you're moving at million miles an hour every day, right? And you might have kind of initially started a product with certain constraints in mind, and by the time you have matured, you have seen that the product has evolved beyond that. And when, as the product manager, you can see that the evolution has been quite drastic, it feels like time, especially when you are using customer data, end user data, and PII and whatnot. There was a time when I kind of like, on my own understanding, and with prompts from my team as well, we kind of figured out that there needs to be some kind of assessment of the current use cases, and see if everything as is as expected. And then we collaborated with our legal partners, and then we kind of moved forward with that.
Yeah. And I think it's extremely important to communicate what happens when you don't do it. What's the timeline? What's the actions afterwards? What's the regulator going to do? Because then you know how to prioritize it within all of the full table that you have. And I think this is also lacking within legal community as well, that we don't communicate exactly what's going to happen if you don't do it, because they think if you say that you need to do it, it will magically happen and people will start working on that. But you need to understand that there are different levels of priorities, and there's also business goals that need to be reached. So yeah, just put the cherry on top and say like what's going to happen if I don't do it. So yeah. But we have some questions as well, and I will be happy to ask you these as well. The most popular one was, how is AI and other technology impacting collaboration between legal and product managers? Whoever wants to go first.
Munna can go first.
Sure. So I think when we talk about AI is, at least to my understanding, AI is nothing new. We have had AI for the last at least 10 years in my work experience. The degree to which we use AI and the mannerisms in which we use AI has changed. So to my understanding, there are a lot of new questions, both technically as well as legally and ethically, that we are asking ourselves. And I don't really expect my legal partners to know everything, just as much as I don't expect myself to know everything. A new model comes out, can we use it in our internal and all? So for me, I think the approach we have taken is somewhat balanced, in the sense that if we understand the group effort, as in like within our company, if there is some sort of a new technology that has already been accepted and has been checked by some sort of a let's say council or a group of individuals who have already accepted that this technology works, we are somewhat more open to exploring that. We would look into that. If there's something very novel, something very niche, I think that when it comes out, the evaluation becomes not just for product and legal. We have to also involve our engineering or our data science partners, because to, let's say, everything is black box model. Underneath, we need to understand what's happening. And I feel that that's the change in today's world. A few of the conversations we are having with legal also needs somebody from our engineering partners who can come and explain it to us, and then we can evaluate what's happening.
Agreed. I agree completely with Munna. I think it is good. So AI as a technology, if you think of it, it depends on how you use it actually. And if you use it as an assistant with you, you kind of really are um, doubling down on your work, and it really helps you put your ideas in a better way at times. It helps me do that for sure. So I think there is no point in shying away from using all of these technologies which are coming up, because they are the reality today. So if today it is basically either learn or then you're kind of dinosaurs. So learn to grow with whatever is coming, because today whatever we are, definitely, like if we see 30 years back, were the lawyers doing the same thing that I am doing today? No, they were doing something different, but they learned, we evolved, right? And this is just another step in the evolution process. You just add this to your how this is how I think about it. Add this to your skill set, think about it as a skill. I know how to use AI in a good, understandable manner, ensuring that I am not putting anything at risk from the company's standpoint, but at the same time also enjoying it. Because at one point in time, you really do not want that you are lacking on a skill which the world is riding on, right? So that's my take on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you mentioned the skill set, because the next question from the audience is also about legal skill set, the requirements that do you see that we will have UX UI legal skill set requirement in the future for legal and compliance people?
To be honest, if we think about it, like, okay, is this a requirement? So then I don't think we will be ever able to check a checklist, because the requirements are evolving. So you just have to keep evolving through your job. Okay, today I need to learn this, tomorrow maybe I need to learn something else. So it is not a requirement of sorts. It's you know something which is evolving, great, that is a plus on you. But it's not like, oh, a legal should also be a designer. You can't think about it like that, right? So it's just an on the job training that you get every day, like, and if you think about it like that, it's always very enjoyable. Like, yeah, today
Mhm.
what did I learn? I know I do sound like that 10-year-old girl who is going and telling it to her father, like, yeah, today I learned something new, and that was something, yeah, la la la. But it's always good to ask yourself, what new did I learn today? Specifically in this world of evolving technology, you want to ask yourself that. Yeah.
Yeah. Munna, what do you think is the most important skill for a product manager owner?
This is like it's like when we talk about product managers, it's not like every product manager deals with the same problems. Uh, our scope, our, let's say, expectations and our outcomes that we desire can be extremely different. So I think from a product manager point of view, and especially since we have been talking a lot about this, is the best thing that you can do is be a very good communicator. That means not just talking, but also listening. You should be able to listen to different stakeholders, understand the kind of like the crux of it, and kind of weed through all the jargons at some sorts, because it is it is very human for us to think everybody has the same context, and thus we kind of throw some of the jargons that we know, right? So in that case, if you can listen properly, if you can understand what they're trying to say, and then communicate it further without changing the entire thing, I think you'll become any good professional, right? And being a product manager, you are kind of expected to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we are wrapping up today's webinar, I would also ask each of you one recommendation you would like to give to the people who listen us and will listen us in the future via recording as well. Something you would really like to stress out, but not the communication part. We will establish that this is the foundation. So, but anything on top of that.
I
I
can go
think
first. Oh no, Ankita, please, please, please.
Ladies first.
okay, thank you. To everybody listening, I would want to say that all of us, all the legal counsels, all the product managers, every stakeholder in your company, put this in your head first. We are all wanting the same thing. Nobody is wanting to be, nobody is wanting to try and be a blocker. So, first thing, to everybody listening, to the lawyers who are listening, try and understand others' perspective before you roll out what you want to speak. As soon as you do that, you might tweak the perspective a bit, and then maybe the conversations would be better. And to the non legal fraternity out there, please pull us in earlier. We will help you sail the ship in a smarter and safer way. We will ensure that you don't have to do the three reworks after you involve us. We'll ensure that everything is set for success at the very start, right, from the very beginning of the project, if we are there at the very beginning of the project. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I can go next. I think for me, as a product manager, we are always looking for a key differentiator for our product, right? We want to solve the problem and we want to solve it better than anybody else has done. And when it comes to regulation and compliance, everybody has an equal playing field. the kind of regulation that we have to adhere to, our competitors also have to adhere to it, right? So for me, I think I've also already mentioned this, but having a legal partner who is kind of diligent as well as innovative, and I'm not saying being innovative in quotes, I really mean innovative, because a lot of the times you need to understand the product and kind of understand what we can build. So working with a legal partner who is innovative can also give us that competitive edge, kind of design a solution that does something a little bit better, goes the extra mile, and solves it while having the best customer experience possible. And this is an idealization of everything, but we might not achieve the the goal of like perfect product, but it can get us quite close to that.
Absolutely. So thank you for all your ideas, the knowledge you shared. I already have like three A4s of notes that I wrote down. So I think it's also useful learnings for engineering designers, marketing people, because I think the true victory is when we are all aligned and we all work towards the same ideas. And I think legal is also an asset, and products can use it for their own and benefit, and it truly has shaped my career and my understanding, and provided so much value being a privacy professional as well. Because I think the biggest winners in the long run are the ones who are able to adapt, learn, and also collaborate in the most meaningful way. So thank you, Munna and Ankita. So yeah,
Thank
and
you
this
for having me.
As well. So this was the end of our May's webinar. So we're taking a long vacation during the summer with webinars, but you're happy to tune in and look at the recordings during the summer as well. And we will continue on in new webinars in September with new faces, already been faces in webinars. So there will be more information about that. Enjoy the summer, happy product legal engagement, and enjoy the summer. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.